lovely to be with you. 6:34. Shall we bring you up to date with what's happening in the newspapers? The Telegraph first, leading with Keir Starmer says he won't bring HS2 back to life if he wins the next general election.
Now, the U-turn there. And The Guardian says September's heat was out of control, according to stunned scientists.
In the Mail exclusive, nurses drugged stroke patients for an easy life on an NHS ward. Horrible story, that.
And finally, the sensational Soaraway Daily Star says the average Brit now has just 3.7 true friends as the UK hits out at Billy No Mate.
Where do they find the stories? You agree?
Well, that's
3.7 friends.
I think quality, not quantity. Totally agree.
True. Joining us to go through some of the day's headlines this morning, Deputy Political Editor at the Mail on Sunday, Anna Mikhailova, and journalist and broadcaster Andy Jones. And it's lovely to see you both. Hello there. Right, what are we starting with?
Well, we're going to kick off with this. We were talking about this earlier. Fascinating front page of The Guardian. The ghosts of Labour past are coming out. Campbell
All the big
Mandelson.
ones. All the big ones. I mean, I have to say, I saw this and groaned this morning because, you know, we got Alistair Campbell taking up most of this story, telling us how Keir Starmer's apparently not being bold enough, not doing the right things to win. Then obviously Peter Mandelson, Charlie Faulkner, all of the greatest hits of 1997. Now, I have to say, I mean, there's a lot you can criticise Keir Starmer for, but on the morning where he's just won quite a significant Scottish by-election, which will set the tone for his current conference, listening to what Alistair Campbell's got to say, I don't think it's going to change the dial particularly.
It's not just Alistair Campbell saying it, is it?
Well, no, but it's also Mandy and
David Miliband saying the same sort of thing.
Again, massive success in Labour.
But they're saying that he's got to be bold. I mean, obviously their conference is coming up. He's got to be bold. He's actually got to say things, even if it causes a lot of debate. He can't just keep sitting on the fence and agreeing with the government over everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That is absolutely true. But again, you have to sort of look at who these people criticising are. I don't think it's going to massively hurt Keir Starmer to have Campbell and Mandelson saying these things.
The last people who won an enormous Labour
That's
election.
right. And Andy, what's interesting, you know, it's not often you'll hear me say I agree with Alistair Campbell, but he is saying, show us some policy, you know, flashes your garter. What do you stand for? We got a conference coming on Sunday in Liverpool, and Mandelson is here saying, I don't think Keir Starmer is ready for government.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's two things that really leapt out at me. First of all, Mandelson saying Starmer's not ready for government, which was the really big ticket item, and I don't understand why that wasn't necessarily the headline as a journalist. And I think that's got punched, because obviously Mandelson was across however many different successful or long-running governments. But Campbell's got a point. He says, if we weren't being attacked, we weren't doing our job.
Yeah.
And I think, and this is the same in the Conservative Party, I think it's the same in the Labour Party. Too many politicians are trying to please absolutely everybody. You have these absolutely vanilla policies, and it's sort of vague culture war stuff, and people aren't prepared to put out any statements because their fear of being attacked, their fear of having a bad headline in one paper. But actually, look, we're in a position where our country needs action. It needs affirmative action, and the big ticket items, economy, transport, health, etc., all being proactively dealt with. And I think Campbell is right. He says if we weren't being attacked, we weren't doing our job properly. And also he points out an obsessive attention to detail. How many of these policies, whether it's the Rwanda policy with the Conservative government and other policies elsewhere, they feel flimsy, they're not thought out, they're launched on a Monday and they're immediately dismissed on Friday.
And I wonder, Anna, this will make people think that maybe the Blairites are pulling the strings of Starmer. Is he turning into a kind of Blairite puppet?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think it's sort of almost that has been the narrative, and I think that is a very fair narrative, because to say Keir Starmer is leaning into Blair is a massive understatement. You know, he's the first Labour leader since Blair to actually publicly sit down with him, to say publicly he's talking to him. Going back even 5 years, that was an absolute no-no. I mean, you talk about David Miliband, he would never have done that. But I think the thing that strikes out here, jumps out at me, is they say they need bold economic policies. Now, yes, I agree. Lots of people agree. But what bold economic policies can you have in the middle of a massive cost of living crisis, in the middle of huge government debt?
2.6 trillion.
Yeah, and I think...
But that's surely the very time what we need some really good policies to listen to.
Well, there's also a reality bite situation where he's going to come in and he's going to have no money to spend, and they're being very, very cautious about saying we're not going to just turn on the borrowing taps, because that is part of what got us in this problem in the first place. So the thing is, anyone who wins the next election will have a massive problem of just not having much money to play with.
And moving on quite neatly now, Andy, to your first choice story, the front page of the Telegraph. Here we go again. Starmer has changed position, this time on HS2.
Well, he has and he hasn't. I mean, he's been an opponent of HS2 since 2015. I mean, the story is that he will not resurrect HS2. This is what the Telegraph's saying. This is based on quotes Starmer made to regional TV. He says he can't stand here and commit to reversing the decision on HS2. The government have taken a wrecking ball to the project. There's a massive hole in it. He says he's going to do exactly what Sunak is planning to do, which is the Northern Powerhouse Rail Network, which is high speed from Liverpool to Leeds, and then improved services between Manchester and Hull and Sheffield.
But back to your previous story, Alistair Campbell and Peter Mandelson would have been saying, yes, I agree with Sunak. They'd have been a bit beefier, wouldn't they?
It's not exactly going to make headlines if that was all he says in his first big speech.
No, but I think this is one line from a regional TV interview, and I think that you'll have a broader, wider policy. But the Telegraph is absolutely right to jump on this in the position where Sunak's been absolutely eviscerated, by the Labour Party for the HS2, and quite rightly so. I think people on this show would agree that there's a lot gone wrong with HS2. But is Starmer going to do any different? Well, no, he's not going to do any different. As we talked about, the cupboard is bare. HS2 has been badly run. Probably should have started in the north, etc. There's huge problems with south-west transport. There's huge problems across the east and north. That money probably should have been spent somewhere else, and Starmer was talking about spending it exactly those places. But again, no different to Sunak.
OK, Anna, Suella Braverman is saying, I think in the Express, that she feels there's a growing appetite now for ditching the European Court of Human Rights.
Yeah, and the Express have done they're reporting a poll which has been carried out that says that there's a groundswell of support among Tory voters and even Labour voters to leave the ECHR, which is actually quite a surprise because whenever we, for example, at the Mail on Sunday have done polling on this, the majority do tend to actually support staying in the ECHR. It's not been a massive, it's not been a policy that opinion polls have hugely supported. Of course, among Tory members, it's been extremely popular, and Suella Braverman absolutely pleased the crowd, let's put it that way, at Tory conference when she talked about all of this. But, I mean, the slight caveat is that the poll has been carried out for the New Conservatives, which is a group that is very, very pro all of this.
Yeah, so right-wing poll proves right-wing position.
In ECHR hating paper.
Having said that, though, don't you think it's about time that we start to see a bit of clear blue water between what the Conservatives and the Labour Party stand for? And hopefully we'll see a bit more of that at the weekend in Liverpool from the Labour Party.
Absolutely, and I think that is, that is definitely where a lot of the Conservative ministers calling for this are coming from. It's a wedge issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you talk about the clear blue water between the two, but how are we going to have a decent general election if we don't see a bit more clear blue water?
Totally agree.
And that's why I just feel, don't you, that Keir Starmer's got to come out with something we can grab hold of and say, well, I don't believe in that, or I do believe in that. He's got to appeal to Labour grassroots.
Yeah, the splinters need to come out of backsides, don't they?
Yeah.
I think it's tactically the right thing to have allowed the Conservative government to make mistake after mistake. You don't interrupt your enemy when they make a mistake. But this week we're going to have to see something of Starmer.
Which brings us to brushing teeth. Now, Keir Starmer has come out saying that he thinks the only way to help with the terrible dentist problem we've got within the NHS is to actually improve the state of the nation's teeth so that we actually don't need the dentist so much anymore. And so he is advocating that we should have lessons in primary schools on how to brush your teeth. And by the sound of it, he is actually advocating that teachers stand over children whilst they do it. What do we think of that?
I'm not sure about the mechanics of this, whether it's going to be they have to stand over them every single day while they brush their teeth. I'm sure a lot of teachers are already on strike about too much work, too low pay. I'm going to be happy about trying to corral 30 children around not very many sinks and try and brush their teeth. I think having the really appalling thing is that if you speak to any primary school teachers, they're talking about children arriving at school that are incontinent, that can't do basic reading and writing, they can't say their own name.
They can't hold a knife and fork.
They can't hold a knife and fork. And it's all well and good us being from sort of nice, balanced homes where we brush our teeth. There are appallingly children around the country that aren't being told these skills.
Yeah, and people on the one end might say this is like nanny state gone mad, but my missus works at nursery level in a school, in a comprehensive, and I think this is a great idea because she sees children all the time who don't have those life skills. The parents are either disinterested or they haven't been hands-on enough. They lost contact with dentistry during COVID lockdowns. I think this is a good idea. I really do.
I think it's a great idea. I'm interested in the mechanics of it, whether it's like 1 or 2 lessons a year about personal hygiene and brushing teeth. Fine. I don't know whether it's teachers having to ensure.
Anna, if you were a teacher, wouldn't you be really fed up that yet another parental responsibility is being laid on you?
Yeah, I think that's a massive problem that not enough people are talking about, because teachers are not only teachers now; they're also policemen, they're also social workers, they're also getting much more from pushy parents. But on the teeth thing, I think it is very nanny state, but there is actually a proven link between little kids as young as even 1 who don't learn how to brush their teeth and then health outcomes for the rest of their life, and not just teeth.
And they're all having Red Bulls and junk on the way to school anyway. Even if they do do their teeth at home. Anna Michalova, Andy Jones, superb paper review. Thank you very much.
Well, yes.